Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and on Pillow Talk, we talk about relationship issues and just generally anything that we would discuss laying on our pillows. So, literally, we lay on our pillows and we have a conversation about what's happening in the world. And so, I'd like to say hello and good morning to my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing pretty good. You woke me up this morning, or I woke up this morning, and you're giving me this story that's like full of all this juicy, gossipy, sort of superficial.
Okay.
Are we back
Okay,
in?
we're back now. We
Okay.
got I bounced you out, but
You
sorry about
bounced
that.
me out. That's
Yeah, I hit
fine.
the wrong button.
That's okay. It's
My
just a
bad.
mistake. Everybody makes a mistake. But yeah, I mean, I hear this kind of like a fantastical story about a lady who's a gold digger who's trying to sleep with athletes and have children with athletes to get a check. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, this is
What's
late.
happening?
Well, look, okay, so let me give you the background and let me explain why I wanted to talk to you about this because you are a relationship therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw an article where they basically said it was titled something like Inside the NBA's Most Dysfunctional Relationship. And it involves this guy named PJ Washington who plays for the Charlotte Hornets. Now, PJ had a little link up with a lady named Brittany, who is Brittany Renner is an Instagram model. Basically, she gets online and shows her stuff and gets a lot of attention from that. And so, anyway, it kind of came to an interesting head because
Mm-hmm.
they ended up having a baby together, right? And so people were kind of like, dude, why'd you have a baby with this lady? And also, she at the time, now this was a few months ago, basically made a statement about athletes where she was basically saying, if you ever want to get paid and get a check, just come up off an athlete. So, in fact, actually, I think I got the clip here. Let me play it for a second. Here we go.
11
Okay.
athletes. Woo! 5 entertainers. Woo! 8 regular guys. Woo! I've only fucked 3 regular guys since I've been Instagram famous because a lot of y'all run your fucking mouths too much. I don't want to be sending you a video 1 minute, the next minute I see me spread eagle on the timeline playing with my pussy. In my experience, the worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, I mean, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really dumb. I don't like talking about my history with men I'm dating.
Okay, so
Hmm.
that's Brittany in her own words, and the point that got everybody's attention. I feel like I want to get you up to speed on this, and everybody else is that Brittany basically said something really interesting. She said athletes are dumb. She said
Mm-hmm.
athletes will give away all their money because they are vagina hungry, and you can have a baby with them, and they don't use condoms, and you can get paid, which is a very disturbing statement, right? This idea that somehow the other person not using a condom is an opportunity for you, right? Like I'm gonna come up. I'm having sex with somebody who don't use condoms. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
somebody called Dr. Fauci and the CDC because we gotta
There's all
we
sorts of
got a virus. We gotta bend the curve. Go ahead.
no, I
Sorry.
was saying all sorts of STDs happening
Whew.
with athletes apparently.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
it's so weird because their whole career is built on having a nice strong body, and then to use your body in that way that's
mm,
very destructive is really interesting.
yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like everybody's so worried about COVID, but ain't nobody talking about STDs. Like seriously, I don't know. I mean, it's just so interesting that how we will react like crazy to Corona stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but STDs people act like they don't exist no more.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that what happens between two people behind closed doors, and whether they want to use protection or not, I mean, it really is their decision.
Hmm.
It's they take the chance. It's just like drinking and driving. You've been drinking, you get behind the wheel. I mean, you're gambling with your life. Isn't your
Hmm.
life worthwhile? Isn't
Hmm.
it valuable enough for you to say I'm not going to involve myself in these risky behaviors? So it just makes you wonder about, aren't people worthy? Aren't you more than just your body?
That's an
It
interesting
makes you wonder about that.
comment.
Um,
Very interesting
yeah, I
comment.
mean, what they do is none of our business, first of all. And, congratulations to them. If they had a baby together, do we know about this baby?
Well,
Um,
what's interesting is, so here's what happened, right? So
yeah.
there was a whole meme I saw. Samaki Walker, who played for the Lakers, he's a friend of mine,
Hmm.
who he put up a post that got my attention, where it was something like, NBA star signs his baby mama to an 18-year, $100 million contract.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's a very true statement, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and I was like, "What? Wait, we signing baby mamas now?" Like, I had just woke up, and it didn't. I was taking it literally, and I was like, "Oh, it's a baby, baby thing, right?" And the guy played for Kentucky. I went to the University of Kentucky,
Uh-huh.
so I had an interest, and I looked into this, and basically, she got dragged pretty bad because that people felt that she was deceptive, and that like she was like I think the claim was like she was pretending to be a college student, but she wasn't. She was like 23, 24 years old or
Hmm.
something, and he's 18, which makes him,
Okay, so she was trying to like be this helpless. So she was presenting herself as I'm this helpless, broke college student. Men like that. Some men really
mm,
like the fact that they have this weak sort of woman who they
mm.
feel more power. If they don't already feel secure in themselves, they feel better when they can just help somebody who's less than.
I don't
Oh
think
my
there's, I don't think
gosh.
there's anything wrong with helping people. Just like
No,
women.
I'm just saying that's what she's playing on.
Right, oh, absolutely.
She's
But
playing on that.
right, right. But I don't think a man that wants to help a woman and protect a woman is a man who's insecure. I think it's secure men that want to help women. I think there are women though
Hmm.
who take advantage of that. It's just like how women want to cook for you. Women love to cook for you, right? Or not all women, but a lot of women.
Hmm.
And a woman wanting to cook for you doesn't mean something's wrong with her. It just means she says,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're hungry. Let me get you some food."
I'm
Right?
just playing into the psyche of what's the dynamic between these two
Mm.
individuals that I think she did not tell the truth about who she was
Yeah.
because she knew if she told the truth about who she was, it would not come across right. So she's presented herself in this way that's helpless, so
Mhm.
that the man could feel valued.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just talking about the
Now
dynamic.
that now
You
that part
asked me about
no,
it,
no,
so
now that part I can see.
okay.
That part I can definitely see. Like, I
Hmm.
can see, she's clearly not helpless, right? Like, she seems pretty smart.
Hmm.
Disturbing in kind of a disturbing way,
Yeah.
like she
Oh,
she
I mean, I'm just watching that video. I know it was a bunch of clips kind of thrown together, so
mhm.
it made her look more crazy than she probably is. But she's definitely she has an imbalance, emotional imbalance, and she almost seems like she might be like, I can't diagnose anybody, but she's got some severe mental health issues. I'll just put it that way. Yeah,
Mm. Well, you are
yeah.
a therapist, and so I
Well, I
guess.
mean, I can't diagnose her unless I actually meet with her, but she does seem like someone who could be, definitely on the depression scale. All that
Oh.
manicky. She seemed a little manicky on that.
You saw Manicky, really?
Yeah, I saw it in her speech and her thoughts and this grandeur sort of like she's figured it out and tricked everybody. That's what people who are kind of manic tend to do. But I don't know. I mean, it would have to be,
Interesting.
a clinical assessment. I'm just looking at
Yeah,
signs,
right.
signs and symptoms.
Right. Well, everybody,
Yeah.
this is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. This is where we literally lay on our pillow and have conversations about things happening in the world. The criteria for whether or not we'd be talking about this topic is it something we would talk about against our pillow? And let me tell you why we the Brittany Renner PJ Washington conversation is interesting for us, is because we got kids in college. We got a son we just dropped off, and the girls like were instantly, he's 6'7",
Hmm.
and a very handsome young man, and you could see the reaction of the girls, like, as he's walking by. You
Yeah,
saw
they're
that we
all over
we
him.
joke
It's so
about that.
great.
Right, right. Well, it's great, but then at the same time, sometimes
Hmm.
attracting too many women can be, a little bit of a curse. Like, I can tell you, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was average as a kid. I had some girls that liked me, but I didn't even know how to talk to girls. I didn't know. I mean, nobody ever taught me nothing like that. So I'd have a girlfriend every now and
You
then.
just be yourself. It's not like you have to become somebody to talk to a girl or be coached on how to talk to a girl. You just talk to them.
I needed that. I needed the coaching. I needed
Huh.
that because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to
You
because
just be boys.
yeah, I was boys, but being boys, just being a regular dude,
Yeah.
doesn't always work on everybody, right?
Who told you that?
The world.
How, what? Who in the world told
Because
you just being boys?
because I would look over at the dudes that had all the girls, and they always had an approach, right? If with women, you got to approach them. If you don't approach them, then typically nothing happens, right?
So did you have anxiety about approaching
Yes.
women?
Yeah, as a kid, yes.
Okay.
Because
So what thoughts came through your head?
I just didn't know what to do.
So you just kind of froze. You're like, oh, there's a lady I'm interested in. I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah, that's
okay.
pretty much it, right? So anyway, so here's my point, right? So
I have some thoughts on that, but go ahead.
yeah, right. So I had a cousin who had all the girls he wanted, right? Ever since we were 5, the girls just thought he was cute for whatever reason, right?
So how did he get all the girls? Was he?
He was just a regular little. I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
So let me get my point. Okay, so my point is that I used to think, man, it'd be nice to have all those girls, right? But then I would look at my cousin, and I'm gonna say I don't want to talk bad about him. I'm not talking bad about anybody, but I would look at guys I knew who had a lot of women, and I felt like when you have something in abundance, you don't value it as much, like because
what do you mean by that?
Well, if you, like a rich person has a lot of money, he'll spend $100,000 like it ain't nothing, right? Whereas a poor person, if you ask them to spend, $300, they're like, whoa, wait a minute, I gotta check my bank account, whatever. So because I didn't have an abundance of female attention, I valued the relationships I had, right? Whereas I knew guys who'd have 5, 6 girlfriends at a time, and if it got too hard, they'd be like, whatever, get out of here. I got another one that can replace you.
Okay, so you're saying that the only reason why you valued the women that did like you was because you didn't have an abundance, and had you had an abundance, you wouldn't care at all. You'd be like, so what?
I wouldn't say that it was the only. I wouldn't say that it was the only reason why. But I can say that I knew guys who, because whenever there's an oversupply of a commodity, the value of that commodity drops. That's economic theory. So basically, if you're a dude that just like some of these basketball players, PJ was at University of Kentucky. I saw the women clamoring after the basketball players, and because I used to work in the basketball player dorm, and I saw that there was just kind of a difference. Like I remember talking to a guy, and I was like, "Yeah, she's nice, she's pretty. Like, what's wrong?" He's like, "Whatever, man. I got 3, 4 girls already coming to the dorm today."
Okay.
So it does affect.
That's what matters to that particular basketball player, that to have a whole 4 girls come through there in a day, that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody's offering WAP on Instagram, then why would a vagina be important for you? Why would access?
So a vagina is not important when there's an abundance of it.
It's not to say it's not important.
Is that what you're saying?
It's always important. I mean, the womb of a woman, especially a Black woman, is one of the most important places on earth. But not everybody sees it that way. And I think that when you have IG models that are literally like, here, I just met you, and you're already 2 inches away from my pussy, that just kind of, I think, devalues the natural worth of beautiful Black women. I think it kind of creates a culture where sex is this simple oversupplied commodity that anybody can obtain without any effort. And I believe I long for the days when men had to work for it. Go ahead.
Okay, so it is that you just think that if you have certain characteristics, you have women who are just throwing themselves at you, and so therefore you don't even really care about the women themselves. You just care about, I got 4 cheap ladies that'll do with me. Why would I care about quality woman?
I'm not saying
I'm just more interested into
I'm not saying all men.
Of this.
I'm not saying all men feel that way, but I can definitely say that there's a difference. Like there's a difference, I believe, on average. Not every case applies, of course, but there's a difference on average between the man that has to work for a woman's attention versus the man who has,
can just get it.
100 women chasing him. Yeah.
Okay. So you think that those men don't ever have to work for a quality woman?
Some men don't. No.
They
When you
don't.
let me
Okay.
just tell you, and I can just I know that from experience.
Okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
went and I told you I went from like that whole regular guy status
Mm-hmm.
to the point where I had things a lot of women want. I had fame, I had wealth, and I had power. When I had fame, wealth, and power,
Mm-hmm.
it was an instant shift in the dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Instant shift. So, it wasn't like I wasn't already a decent catch because I was always a good person. I was a professor, a PhD. I was a young 31-year-old making $100,000 a year. So I was already, as Kevin Samuel says, a high value man, which I know you hate that term, but seriously, I already got attention from that. But then when I went to that next level, where suddenly I'm not making 100 grand a year, I'm making over $1 million a year. I'm known all over the country, and I can get on the phone call, with celebrities or important people and make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That shifts. It makes people see you. They see you as this opportunity. Like, wow, if I can get close to this man can change my life. And the thing is, it was actually true. And so I started observing just the reactions,
Right.
and the reactions do shift. And what it does do is it does change. It's like if you suddenly if you went from having a job you had to really work hard to get to
Uh-huh.
suddenly having 100 job offers thrown at you, it does shift the way you view the job market.
Yeah, I just wondered if it would shift because I'm not certain that you want to be around people who are just around you because of what they can get from you.
Mm.
I'm wondering if you really want to be around the quality person, and therefore having the abundance would make that decision making process more complicated. Because
Perhaps.
you don't really know if someone is just being really superficial and just around you for what Boyce can do for me. Boyce can do this for me, so I'm gonna be around him for this reason.
Mm.
Or if you just want to have like a really genuine, oh, I really like Boyce as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and having something that could be seen as more substantial, something with a little more substance. I'm wondering if it makes it more difficult for you in this
Yeah.
position instead of it being,
Yeah,
less
well,
difficult.
it does. It does. I mean,
Uh-huh.
believe me, I didn't go for the groupie shit when I saw it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
believe it or not, even professors have groupies. I read up on everything, and there's something called the sapiosexual, and these are women that are
Mm-hmm.
sexually attracted to men who are intelligent. I may not be perfect in all areas, but one thing I do not run short on is intelligence, and I can analyze things and all that stuff, right? So that's fine. But the thing was, I did see that, right, and I do
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what you're referring to. And what it did, honestly, was it kind of helped me understand how a lot of women feel when you have men that will see a big butt and a smile.
Mm-hmm. But that's
And
what she's putting out there. I mean, like
right.
what you put out there can tell you about like what you think is valuable. She's not really putting herself out there. She's objectifying herself and putting that out there.
Yeah, she might be,
Because
but
her self-worth is tied to who's going to see her on Instagram, what she's saying, how she's revealing. It's interesting and sensational, for her to talk about, oh, I've got with these men, I got with this man. I only been with 3 men, regular dudes, and she's saying follow this formula and you will get with all of that. But I kind of wonder about her mental health anyway.
well, it is disturbing. It is disturbing, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's I've I've seen a lot of guys who,
Hmm.
if you ain't looking fine and you ain't got a body, those
Hmm.
guys ain't trying to mess with you. You could
Okay.
be the nicest, smartest person ever.
Hmm.
But being fine and attractive is a prerequisite. It is a necessary but not a sufficient condition. Like in mathematics, they call that necessary but not sufficient. Necessary means you got to have it, but not
Hmm.
sufficient means it's enough to get me over the top to make me want to
Hmm.
commit to you, right? So looking good is necessary, but it's not sufficient, right? So you have a guy that's like an NBA star. All the women around him a lot of times are going to be beautiful women, but that's not sufficient for them to become
Hmm.
his wife. He can
I
only
just kind of.
pick one wife. So typically the wife is a beautiful woman who
Hmm.
also has personality traits that he admires.
He has that personality traits. Well, I mean, a lot of those women, I don't know how pretty they are. I mean, they're very glamorous. Like anybody could glam themselves up,
I
and look
think this girl's
really.
pretty.
Yeah, yeah.
What do y'all think? Do y'all think she's pretty, or do y'all think she's mediocre? I mean, I know she's showing a lot of booty and all that, and she on the raunchy side. She got a little that Cardi B in her. But if she was just a regular lady, if she was like your daughter or something, without showing the booty on Instagram, would y'all think that she was pretty, or do you think she's average? Beatrice says average, but Beatrice is a woman, so maybe. What about the men? What do y'all think? Y'all think she's cute? Would you be a little tempted, or would you just say, nah, stay away from me?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that the thing is that once you open your mouth and you start talking, you're gonna make yourself unattractive. So once you start talking and she's saying these kind of bizarre things, I think based on that video, we can see that something ain't hanging together in her head. Once you start talking, I mean, it can be a total turnoff for a lot of men who are able to see that. Who are able. I mean, you can't hide yourself.
Yeah.
You show yourself. You think you're getting away with it. You think you're hiding yourself, and you're not. People can see right through you. And so you talked about how we have a son in college right now, and he's 6'6", 6'7", and he's probably the hot commodity on campus, I think, because he's very attractive. But I have conversations with him, and he hasn't really settled on anybody. He's saying, you know what, I'm gonna get to know the person. He's trying to he's playing around a little bit, but he's like, no, I can't choose. I said, well, don't choose. There's no rush. You're only 18, so I think he's trying to really get to know the person, but hopefully that is a reflection of what he grew up with. He's grew up with, we do our best. All of us do our best to instill, positive qualities in him, making him feel that he's worthwhile, making him feel he's valuable, so he doesn't have to cling to a certain sort of external thing to feel good about himself. He's going to make a good choice. I really have faith that, of course he'll make some mistakes along the way, but I think he'll make a really solid choice.
Well, let's not talk about him too much on our chat, because he may not like us talking about his personal life publicly.
Well, he may not.
Yeah,
but it's stuff that people go through. It's very relatable for all men, especially on college campuses when you're outnumbered. But my thing is just, to make sure that he feels good about himself and that he knows he's valuable, and to look at the actual person. So
okay, well let me play this clip of Brittany's talking so y'all can hear it, in case y'all just came in, and then I'm gonna give you a man's perspective on a voice man's perspective on why I think even good guys are gonna probably pay attention to this girl, and I'm gonna explain why, but I want to explain it without judgment. But then I want your response. Okay, so let me play the clip here. Hit the thumbs up button.
Are you gonna go into a monologue?
I am.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. I do need to hear.
I'm gonna do a 45-second monologue and explain why.
Okay.
I don't, when a guy says he's hooking up with a girl like this, I don't necessarily think that means he's stupid. But let me just lay it out. Okay, so here we go. Here's her clip. This is a very interesting statement she made, in case you didn't see it earlier.
11 athletes. Woo! 5 entertainers. Woo! 8 regular guys. Woo! I've only fucked 3 regular guys since I've been Instagram famous, because a lot of y'all run your fucking mouths too much. I don't want to be sending you a video 1 minute, the next minute I see me spread eagle on the timeline playing with my pussy. In my experience, the worst people to deal with are the athletes. None of them use condoms, really. So if y'all really want to try to come up off a check off a man, you could just fuck an athlete. They're really dumb. I don't like talking about my history with men I'm dating, I guess until now, because most of the guys that I've dealt with are gonna have more money than you. And you're gonna feel a way about it. I know the male ego is fragile, like the ball sack that hangs in between your legs. In conclusion, I don't even look at people as trashy or not. It all comes down to mentality for
me.
Okay, so what y'all think about that clip? Give me a quick comment on that. So anyway, so by the way, hit the thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. You're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Bush and Dr. Alicia, and this is where we talk about literally anything that we would discuss laying against our pillow, and we talk about everything. But our goal is not to talk about PJ Washington and Brittany Renner from a gossipy perspective. It's really more so we almost like parents. Like what happens if you see your child dating a woman like that, or you see your daughter in that situation, what would you do? And so Brittany and PJ had a baby together. PJ's in the NBA, and basically the whole conversation has been that that she tricked him and she manipulated him into having this baby. And Brittany's kind of come back and said, no, that's BS. She said, you're a grown ass man, you make grown ass decisions. This baby's named after you. So she's saying that PJ Washington's full of crap. That this whole like I'm a victim stuff is nonsense, and I tend to agree with some of that in the sense that okay, I mean, we all make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Lord knows we do. I had a baby at 18, and I can't say that that is a choice I would make now. But so it's a balancing act, right? You make mistakes, but at the same time, you have to take accountability for your mistakes. But then again, it's hard. It's not fair to the baby to call a baby a mistake. Stacey Jones says they were married. I didn't know they were married. I didn't see that they were married, but maybe they were. I got to look it up. But anyway, so here's my 2 cents, right? I'll say this from a guy's perspective in terms of why a woman like this will always have a chance, even amongst men who claim that they would never hang out with women like that. One, I read in some book something where they said when men are biologically connected to women who have just certain physical characteristics. Period. They claim they try not to focus on it, but they see it all the time, no matter what. Also, they said psychologists. I remember reading saying that, and you're a therapist, so you could probably trump me on this, but they said that men who see attractive women, they naturally attribute good characteristics to that woman. Like it's easier to believe she's a good person because she's pretty. Like they literally said this, and I could look this up. And then the other thing too is that just because a man wants to hook up with you does not mean a man wants to marry you, right? And the way he evaluates a relationship or a wife is differently from the way he might evaluate a jump off, right? So a guy I know personally know guys who would never ever in a million years ever try to date or marry a Brittany Renner. They would see right through it. Instagram model, talks a lot of crazy stuff, whatever. But then they might say, but you know what? She might be a good person to kind of spend some time with, or whatever, right? Because she looks good and I can have a good experience and move on with my life. Right. And so I think that's almost like like going to McDonald's and getting some fast food and in some plastic containers. That ain't the same as eating at a 5-star restaurant. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I think. I think that um I don't think it's a matter of her being like worthless or lower class or him being lower class. I think they're just human beings, and there are people, as you always say, there's somebody out there for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there are men out there that would be very happy to be with a woman like that.
I'm wondering, like, okay, because what did he say again? He said that he felt manipulated into being with her. I'm just real interested about what she said to him and the lie that she told to him about who and what she was, because he was thinking that he was getting with another person, and I don't know why he didn't vet her. Like, let me meet your parents first. Let me try to meet your friends, or I don't understand the nature on which they were dating, but he felt that he was manipulated by her, that she basically presented herself as something different than what she really was. So I mean, in that right, I mean, he kind of has a point there.
Well,
um he was
well,
going off of what he knew. Does it say?
well, I got to find more of his quotes because the article I'm looking at is in the New York Post, and they're kind of she's basically saying that she wasn't in it for the money, she was in it for the love.
Oh, she
And she
was.
said if I wanted to cash out, I would have cashed out 5 or 6 years ago with men that had a lot more. And apparently, she dates a lot of famous dudes: James Harden, Drake, Lil Uzi Vert, Jamal Murray, Ben Simmons, Trey Songz, Chris Brown, and Colin Kaepernick.
Uh-huh.
And we saw Kaepernick's documentary the other day.
Well, we saw half of it. We gotta watch the other half one day.
Yeah,
Finish up
yeah.
the other half. So she's saying that they really loved each other.
Yeah, that's
She's
what
saying that
she's
she
saying.
and
Yeah,
his
she's saying
okay,
it's nonsense. She's saying that
okay.
it's BS. That this whole narrative that that she tricked him is not true. And I think that he had kind of fed into something. I think he fed into it a little bit by basically saying, "You're not the person I thought you were," and he mentioned that on, I guess, on
Wow.
social media. So in a way, I think that um I don't know. I kind of look at him and say, "Look, dude, you made this choice."
Hmm.
You know.
Well, it makes me feel better, the fact that she brought up that we loved each other. I'm almost certain that he did love her. I'm
Hmm.
almost certain that he probably loved her, or the version of her that he saw. I'm
Hmm.
almost certain underneath all of that, all of those words in that video that really made her look kind of probably more crazy than she really was. Underneath all of that probably is a little girl who wants to be loved. And I'm certain that they did love each other. And I mean, they have a child together. So they're joined at the hip basically for the next, I wouldn't even say that's 18 years. I mean, that's a lifetime commitment to have a child with someone. Even when they turn 18, it doesn't end there. Um, it it doesn't even legally end at 18. It actually legally ends at 24, depending on what state you're in. But it seems like to me that there probably was something there between them. Um, do you think she really loved him? If that's what she says, that's what we got to believe. She said that she really loved him. I believe her. If she even knows. What's the other man created that monster? Okay. If she didn't, if others didn't give her everything she okay. Wait, what does it say?
He said, "Shorty, it's a
Shorty's on the
neighborhood bike. Everybody got a ride."
everybody got a ride. Yeah, so it's a neighborhood bike that went to a new neighborhood, and maybe this guy didn't even realize everybody been on that bike.
Oh, let's not forget, she's the neighborhood bike that's got STDs on it.
Yeah.
So you
And
sit on
it's
that
Germany.
seat. You sit on that seat. You gonna be German.
Yeah. It needs to be wiped down with some
right. You
Clorox.
won't be African no more. You gonna be German.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the. I mean, that's the thing, right? That's and this is, if I was to really kind of share a perspective, like, first of all, I think with in general, they have this baby. The baby's cute as hell. It's the child is being born in the middle of like a real interesting situation, chaotic, right? The child is not going to have a father in the house unless another man steps up and marries his mother. And and that's what really makes me sad, is when there are just these crazy situations where everybody's thinking of, with their genitals, and then next thing you know, a baby's born, and the baby's kind of in the middle. If you're born in the middle of chaos, there's a good chance you're gonna have a chaotic life. And I'm hopeful that, after he kind of gets out of his feelings about whatever happened in the relationship, that they would then be able to focus on the important job. The important
It's
job,
raising the child, right?
yeah.
Making sure that the child is whole. That would be nice, because now this child is going to grow up and see this. How did your parents get together?
Oof.
They're going to see the nature of which they were conceived. I can't imagine what that's going to be like for the child.
And it won't be that long from now. Like the baby's a newborn. He's like, let's say he's one now. In about 7 years, it'll come. Maybe 6 years, it'll come into his consciousness. He'll be on the internet. He'll Google his parents, and then boom, he's gonna see all this nonsense. And like that's got to be. He gonna need all kinds of therapy. Like I'd be livid. Like damn, daddy, you called my mama a hoe.
Well, more than that, I think the parents definitely need to come. They both need to sit down and put their own interests to the side and really do what's best for the child.
Yeah, but
So they have got to put their disagreements to the side, and say, okay, what's the best for this baby? It's better for this baby to be connected to both their parents so that they can know and they can value themselves and know who they are. So let's maintain that.
Well, what's really sad to me is like, is that what you said is 100% true, that taking care of the child is the number one priority. But I think there's something weird about our egos and our short-sighted thinking, where we're only thinking about, looking good for the gram, or hooking up, or whatever, or winning a fight. And we're not even thinking about, like, okay, what's going to happen to this poor little innocent person who's stuck in the middle of our drama, and it's and it really kind of speaks to like the problem with the Black family. I don't know. Does anybody give me a yes or no in the chat if you know anybody else who has this kind of nonsense going on? In fact, actually, I think about when I see a story like this, I think about DMX. And DMX, he died in a really unfortunate way. He lived, a pretty hard life, with drugs and heartbroken dysfunction, everything else.
Well, he started off as with a pretty hard life,
and that's what I was going to get to, is if you go back to when DMX's parents were the same age as PJ and Brittany, you'll know that the way DMX came into this world was he was born in the middle of chaos. His daddy just basically got with his mama for a piece of ass, did not want the baby, wanted her to abort the baby. So the father was gone before he was born,
Mm-hmm.
and then the mother didn't want him either. The mother, his mama dropped him off at a boy shelter and never came back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so this is what happens.
I imagine. I want to comment on dropping a child off at a shelter. How old was he?
Like maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, in order to do that, you have to be in a pretty desperate situation.
Yeah, but
To have a child
mhm.
and to know that you can't, there's no father who's there who's able to help you in any way. I'm certain that she didn't have a lot of supports, because if you do, you don't drop them off like that. So I'm almost certain that those were some really horrific conditions that mom was under in order to do that.
I don't disagree. I'm
Yeah.
sure the father was under horrific conditions when he abandoned them both.
Man,
Right.
we don't know
And
what's
so,
going on with
right,
him, but I'm
we don't,
sure
right,
there's
we
an
don't,
answer.
right, but that's what I
Yeah.
mean, right? So, and I don't disagree, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, how do we sort of process this, right? To understand that sex ain't just sex.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. Sex ain't just about your orgasm. You have people literally that just think about sex as I'm about to go bust a nut, or I'm about to go get some, or they
Mm-hmm.
loosely, sex was, I mean, if you really want to get spiritual about it, I mean, sex is something created by God to reproduce human beings.
Well, the thing is that you don't think about that in the moment. If your life condition is so horrific, the only way you can escape to get pleasure is to have, intercourse with somebody. That's your only way, because your life is so awful.
Yeah,
My life is so awful. I'm going to turn to this in order to feel worthy.
yeah, I get,
So people use
I,
that for
I
different.
definitely, I definitely can get that. I don't disagree with that, right?
Yeah.
Just like I could have turned to drugs when my life got hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a
Because
value
people have
system.
their own special addiction that they
Right.
turn to.
They do. Right. So some addictions, there are people that are addicted to running. You and I ran a race yesterday, and and there are people out there that love to run these 10-mile races and marathons because they're addicted.
Mm-hmm.
They like the endorphins from running, right? So there
But I
are
don't know if that would be an addiction necessarily.
no,
Okay.
there are people who are maybe who love the runner's high. Or
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are addicted to hard work, or people who are addicted to exercise, or even people who are addicted to church.
Okay.
Right.
It's just.
So my
Mm-hmm.
point is to say, I'm just saying,
Okay.
a sex addiction, if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you want to call it, or turning to sex as a way to cope with your heart situation. I think that we have to get to the point where where we can't always just make excuses for people that engage in behavior that is harmful and destructive to others.
Okay. I was trying to make the distinction between an addiction and just things that you do, the self-care. Like
Mm-hmm.
something that's self-care. Okay, I'm gonna go for a run, and I got this endorphin and it makes me feel good. That's one thing. But an addiction, where it turns into the actual word of addiction, is that you're doing it so much and you can't stop doing it, and you're running. I can't go to work, I can't take care of my kids because I'm so addicted to running.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it becomes an actual addiction. I have this compulsion that I can't stop doing it.
Okay.
So doing it as self-care. So is that's where the fine line. So anything can turn, when looked at in extreme, can turn to an addiction. So I just want to make that clarification. Just
Yeah.
because you like running doesn't mean you're addicted to running. It's
Yeah, I
just
agree.
things that you.
And just because you like sex doesn't mean you're addicted to sex.
Exactly.
Right.
So what I was saying is that why people turn to sex sometimes is because their own life is not great, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's this helplessness that comes from your surroundings. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to turn to this sort of easy or acceptable way to make me feel good so I can escape this awful life that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I totally get that, right? And what I'm saying too is that there's also the ability to be accountable for our own lives,
Of
right?
course.
And so
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're wrong. We see the symptoms all the time. The black community, a big chunk of the black community is a complete mess
Yeah.
with children. I read something just yesterday about a couple where they broke up before the baby was born. Like, it happens a lot because people get excited about sex, and then next thing you know, somebody gets pregnant, and then they can't even make the relationship work, and then the baby's born without both parents, which right there, statistically speaking, increases the likelihood that the child is going to have problems in his life. It doesn't guarantee it, but statistics say, that having both parents available makes a difference. So I kind of feel
Well,
like,
there's a lot. I mean, remember we were talking about the ACEs scale?
Mm-hmm.
the adverse childhood experiences scale.
Right.
There's only one question on that scale about family structure.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the questions are, how is that child treated on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm.
So and it's been a ton of data on that. If people treated a child, if they belittled the child, if they hit the child physically, if they saw a lot of violence in their home, so a lot of it is the environmental conditions of which a child is raised that really can predict how well that child's going to be later in
Mm-hmm.
life.
Well, I don't
you know
disagree. Like I don't doubt for one second that there
Mhm.
are ways to supplement for a missing mother or a missing father.
Well, I'm not.
I'm simply saying that it's easier if you have two functional parents that
Mhm.
are both looking after a child. Like for example, statistics show that a lot of the girls who get molested are they're more likely to be molested if they don't have a father in the house.
Mhm.
And so, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that there aren't. Remember, a lot of R. Kelly victims had a father in the house, and they still ended up in the bed with R. Kelly as teenagers or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So a father doesn't guarantee a healthy household, but it increases the likelihood if you
It
have a
does.
if you have
Mhm.
a protective
Mhm.
male there, right? So,
Yeah,
like,
what I was saying was that we put so much emphasis on just that one thing. The father has to be in the home, which is extremely important. The thing is that, okay, father's there. What is that home condition like for that child?
right,
Because if the father is there and that condition is not conducive for healthy relationships, and that child didn't see a healthy relationship, it doesn't matter anyway. The child's gonna come out of that household and be just like this lady here. I'm almost certain she probably has
yeah.
a background
Well,
like
I
that.
agree. I
You
agree. I
know.
mean, if you have having a mother,
Mhm.
I didn't have a perfect mother, but I believe I was better off because I had a mother.
Oh, for sure.
Right. But
Hmm.
my mother was not perfect. She'll tell you about all the flaws she had as a young person, right? The mistakes she made. But even a bad mother is better than no mother, right? So I think that if we could say that about fathers, well, I'm gonna say a bad mother, even a mediocre mother. I call my mother, if at best she would call herself mediocre, right? I don't know if she was mediocre. She did a lot of stuff that really played a part in my success today, but there were areas where she could have done things better, for sure, right?
Hmm.
But even my mother with all her flaws was better than no mother at all, and my father with all his flaws was better than I would have been with no father at all, because there were
Hmm.
times where despite the flaws my father had, which were numerous, he was a Vietnam veteran who overcame a heroin addiction, who was a very tough disciplinarian, who sometimes made mistakes. But there were also great things that he did
I
that
wonder if you took.
protected us.
Yeah, I wonder if you took the ACEs scale, how many yeses would you have?
I probably have a few, you know.
Wow.
I mean,
That's a lot. I mean, you should really look into that.
mhm.
And if you've had like adverse childhood experiences scale, you could Google it. If you have, they say if you have three or more on that, yes, four, they said four, you really need help.
Yeah.
Like it's a critical point. Like they can, it's pretty accurate in terms of prediction of your
Mhm.
future. And that would help to explain a lot,
Well, my
you
argument is
know.
that every black person needs help. Every black person
Well, I
can
don't know
benefit.
about that.
Everybody can benefit from therapy.
Uh-huh.
In my view, because the just being black and being around black people all the time, some of
Hmm.
whom are not healthy, is right there. To me, that's a traumatic experience as it is.
That's interesting because
Like
I've
it,
been black my whole life, and I
yeah.
don't remember, to my knowledge, I don't remember having any sort of trauma or anything like that. To my knowledge,
Well, you
no.
have friends that were killed before you got out of high school.
Who?
Didn't you say you had a couple of guys you knew that got murdered in Gary?
No, I don't
I
know
mean,
anybody that was murdered. I don't
you
have any close.
you don't know anybody from Gary that got murdered. You told me
I
about
do
your
know
friends you
people.
have that got killed.
I do know people who've been murdered in Gary, but I don't have anybody. Nobody as a child growing up from 0 to 18. I don't have anybody close to me that was murdered. No.
No, but somebody you knew, like a friend of a friend.
What are you talking about?
Like somebody that you
Growing
know.
up?
Yeah, you told me about the
No.
guy who got drunk and killed his friend, his best friend.
Oh, that was in college. That was when I was
Oh,
in
okay,
college.
but
But
that
that
but
wasn't when
that's
I was
but
early
my
on.
point is to say
Okay.
though that
First, wait, I just want to say I lived a very sheltered life in Gary. Like I went to this little small Catholic school.
right.
Everybody, I mean, it was just a very small, close knit group that I grew up in. So I didn't really, I say to my knowledge, you never know how deep the subconscious mind
Mhm.
is. But to my knowledge, I don't think I ever was abused or mistreated as a
Okay,
child. But
so but I believe that any
uh-huh.
black person who knows a relative who went to prison, has a relative that was addicted to substance abuse, drugs or alcohol. Had an uncle who was a piece of shit. Had a father that wasn't in the house, or had poverty. Like, I think all those little things that we might not think about. I think all those things required coping mechanisms that can have impact on who we are as adults, right? So I'm not here to, so what I would say is, like, when you're talking about these relationships, like, we started talking about PJ Washington and Brittany Renner, and we started talking about other things, but I think overall in the Black community, you cannot sit here and act like our families are healthy and normal. There are millions of children who are not protected, and if you watch, and that's what I'm thinking about.
So you think there's something special about Black families? Because I've been a therapist with
I think
all different types of families, and I'm gonna tell you,
I agree. We know that there's some fucked up white people.
There's enough ignorance
to
go
we know
around.
that, right? We know that there's ignorant white people.
It's not just us.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. What I'm saying, though, is that the Black family does need to be repaired. I don't believe the Black family is what it was meant to be. I don't believe the Black family is where we want to be. I just don't believe that, right?
Okay.
So you're right. Maybe Asian people have secret problems that we don't know about. Jewish people might have horrible things happening that we don't know about. I'm sure they all do. What I'm saying is that when I mentor little girls from the hood, and I asked one of them, I said, how out of your 20 or so friends, how many of your friends have a father and a mother in the house? And this little girl said 0.
Okay, so you're talking about in the hood. So Black families aren't just in the hood. Like, Black families are everywhere.
Right.
Just like white families are. And so that's not the norm of a Black family.
Right. Well, no, the hood is normalized. I mean, the hood is all they
really.
The hood is heavily represented in music and media.
Okay, doesn't mean that it's represented
right.
in reality.
Black people are far likelier to be below the poverty line. The statistics show this. So if you go to a lot of cities, don't get me wrong, if you go to DC, you will find a wealthy Black neighborhood in Prince George's County, but you gonna find the hood. The hood is always present.
Okay, I just want to say, I didn't grow up with the most money. You know what I mean? But I don't remember feeling poor. I remember, like, I had everything that I needed and a lot of what I wanted. So I didn't like, looking back on it, I didn't have a lot of money. Like, my mom was a school teacher, and we didn't have an abundance of stuff. But I just don't remember, like, I don't know if it's hood necessarily, but I don't think that we grew up in, like, lavish.
I saw that house.
Yeah, it was really small.
When I went to the house, I felt like I was in the hood.
Okay, I did not
feel like I was in Bel Air.
Right, exactly. So it wasn't like the best thing, but there was a lot of love in that house.
You had a lot of love from your mother, for sure.
I had a lot of love from a lot of people, everybody in my family.
That's true.
So just because I, began in a meager sort of beginnings doesn't mean that it has to be all ratchet and all hell's broken loose and everything is terrible. You're going to throw all that stuff at it. I just think that when you get into some of those real human experiences that happen among Black families, I see a lot of strength. I see a lot of support for each other. I see a lot of Black members and families pulling together and working real hard together. I really don't see it being just an awful thing. And I notice some of the people that you mentor in the hood, there's a lot of beauty in that. They take care of each other. They look out for each other. If they're ever they can count on each other for a lot of.
Yes, there is beauty, but it becomes like a Wonder Woman movie where there's no men around. And I don't give a shit what community you're talking about. If there ain't no men around, it ain't no real community. Okay. It's not built for prosperity. It's not built for protection. It's not built for growth. Just like if you don't have hold on. Just like if you don't have women around, you don't have life. Okay. You can't have a bunch of dudes talking about we don't need no women. We got it all. We all love each other.
Oh wait, I don't see that.
That's a Lil Nas X concert. That ain't the Black community. We go ahead, baby.
Yeah, I thank you for letting me jump in here, because that particular family that you're talking about, when I speak to those people, because I speak to the people that you mentor, that particular family has a lot of men that participate, and they do, because I asked them, I said, tell me what's going on with you on the weekends. And they say, oh, their grandfather comes and picks the kids up and takes them and get them their haircut. Their grandfather is with them every single week. every single weekend he comes and he mentors those little boys, and he's developed a really strong connection with them. That's what they tell me. That's the words that come out of their mouth. I have to believe them.
Right.
So there's a lot of beauty in that. It's not that men aren't valued. It's just that there are men in the hood stepping up.
Right. I'm not going to say that there's not beauty there. I'm saying, though, that from my view, my perspective,
it can be your perspective, but
my
I'm
point of
telling you
view,
what they
hold on,
told me.
I agree. I agree. Grandparents are great. But my problem is, I don't think kids need to be raised primarily by their grandparents.
Exactly.
Right, because I'm a grandfather. I get pulled into shit all the time where I'm like, where is the daddy? Where I know granddaddy got money. Yeah, granddaddy can write a check. But where is his daddy writing a check? Is the baby's daddy there? And
the
I
baby
could,
daddy is there,
right,
by the way.
well, that's the thing. The baby daddy might be there, but if the baby daddy's not stepping up the way again, I'm speaking from a biased perspective. I grew up in a space where manhood was very clear, right? That if your kids are out here and they don't have the money in their pocket that they need, you got to go get that, right? Now some people think, oh, you can be a daddy and be broke. I don't believe that. I believe you can try, but I believe it's very hard because we live in a world where people need money.
Yeah, and so
Period.
in that scenario, I see the fathers stepping up and sharing 50-50 custody of the child, which I think is very positive. It's the gold standard. I see a lot of I think because there's this perception that Black fathers aren't there. I think that is a misconception. I think Black fathers are there, even if the parents aren't together, which is too unfortunate for that. But they're stepping up and making sure that their child is whole.
Well, I don't
financially
I
and
don't disagree that
emotionally.
there aren't a lot of great Black fathers, and I don't know. I'd have to look at, I know that there's different studies about it and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm not saying, and I agree. What I'm saying in general though is, remember, you had mass incarceration that locked up a lot of Black men, and as a result, you started going from a community, in my view, where you had structured families to one where we kind of have the single mothers kind of running everything.
Okay.
And it's affected the men and the women. I've seen a lot of men who grew up with mama doing everything and mama being the boss of everything. So they go looking for a new boss. They look for a woman who's going to be a single mother, just like their mother, because they were never taught the importance of their role.
I think they understand. Everybody understands. Even when you grew up with just a single mother, because I speak to them in therapy sometimes, and they're like, yeah, well, things happened and my dad wasn't around, but I'm going to make it better for my family. I'm going to make sure that I do everything in my power to make sure that I am physically around, that there's more to offer.
You're talking about the mother being around? Of course,
I'm talking about the father boys, and the fathers want to be around, even no matter how they grew up and what they saw. They want to be there for their children, so they get messages.
I do agree. I just don't. But I don't believe you can never have a powerful community that's full of babies, mamas.
Exactly.
I don't believe it. Right. So I would say that you have to. I think that a man saying I want to be around. Unfortunately, there's a benefit men have when there's a man who explained what it means to be around, what it means to be present, what it means to be a decision maker, what it means to be a provider, what it means to be a protector.
They understand that. I think they understand
like picking up your kids and taking them out to Disney World once a year is not, or I bought my baby some shoes for Christmas. Like a lot of people have that standard. Like they think, or they'll say, or I've heard mothers say, oh, well, he does good. He picks up the baby once a week and he buys diapers. Well, it costs a lot more to take care of a baby than diapers.
Yeah, and what I say that's really refreshing is that there are a lot of fathers who are not just buying shoes and not just buying diapers and taking them to Disney. They're getting intricately involved in their child's school, intricately involved in extracurricular activities. They're actually stepping up pretty well. If they're inside the home and outside the home. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah, well, there are men out there like that. Shout out to the fathers. I mean, there are a lot of fathers that were at the convention, and when we did speed dating, I just kind of made it clear. I get into fights with men on the internet all the time that like literally hundreds of thousands of men that I've just had to go on head to head with, where I've said, if all you are, if you just think that a man's job is to go out and chase pussy and just go from one woman to the next and not respect Black women, then I can't rock with you, because that's not what I believe a man is supposed to do, and there are men. That's where the Kevin Samuels audience comes from. Not all of them, but some of the men. Not all of them. Some of the men legitimately are there because they feel frustrated. They feel like they're not being heard, and I respect that, right? But then there's some men who are there because they just think everything's about how you can get more ass, and how you can blame everything on women, and how you can neglect your own responsibility. And I'm not a fan of that. I believe that that you are supposed to be respected as a leader in certain ways and stuff like that, but also there's an accountability that comes with that. And a lot of I've just seen the culture shift. That's the part I'm referring to. So I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy, maybe black families are perfect and stable
I
and
didn't
wonderful.
say perfect and stable. I said they're not as bad as the media is putting it out to be, and I think it's doing a disservice to the psyche of us.
Well, that's true.
You know,
That is true. I
we
mean,
think that everything ignorant just lies on us. It's ignorance everywhere. All different races and different types of people. Is trust me, there's a whole lot of mess going on with these other families too.
well, I'm not
You
talking.
know,
I agree. I mean, and
just
honestly,
saying.
I'm not real concerned about white people or Asian
Yeah, I
people.
am, but
I'm
we always feel like we're just more worse than anybody else. But I think there's some beauty in us.
there's a lot of beauty in
Yeah.
us. There's no question about it. I don't disagree. I think that it's just one of those things where you got to figure out. I like if you look at a specific situation like this one, like the one we just started talking about earlier with PJ Washington and Brittany Renner. It's kind of like it's a lot of it's built on a lot of superficial, immature stuff. Like she looks good, I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna be an Instagram model and show my booty for a living, and and nobody's really thinking about how traumatic this is gonna be for the baby when he gets older, and is saying, look, I need a mother and father that I can look to with a certain degree of respect and deference.
Oh God.
Like I
How
was a
embarrassing would I be like if my mom was just like sleeping around? I'd be so embarrassed.
yeah, your mom,
Thank goodness she
right,
didn't do
mama
that.
mama is a proud hoe, not just a hoe, but a proud hoe. And daddy, daddy's out here just chasing anything with a big button, a smile, and neglecting responsibility, acting like I'm trash, like I don't matter. My father's supposed to love me. My father's supposed to be excited. Like that's the thing that people don't understand, honestly. It's like a baby is a gift. Like that is the most precious thing you'll ever receive in your life. And this is the area where I actually can slightly identify with Brittany Renner. Brittany Renner ain't my type, right? Like I can see through stuff like that. I wouldn't be nowhere near a woman like that. But one area where she makes a good point is she's like, this baby's named after you, and I'm holding this baby and taking care of this baby and feeding this baby milk every day. And you're so caught up in the drama of our relationship that you don't even want to be involved in the rearing of this child.
Oh, is that what she said? Is
You
he
know,
not involved
well, that's
in the
what
child's life?
that's kind of the way she's laying it out.
Huh. I wonder what he would say to that.
Well, I don't know.
Sound like there's some real love between them, and he's just real salty about what happened.
Well,
Like
he's
he
pissed
just
off.
fell for it.
Yeah, I mean, he's mad, and she's gonna get money off of it or whatever, and that's fine. But I just kind of feel like, like I'll hear people say stuff like that. They'll be like, you know, that girl, she don't really like you. She wouldn't like you if you was broke. She just wants your money. I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily an insult or necessarily. I mean, I'll be like, yeah, I think I've seen women that are attracted to things in men, and financial security is one of them. I've read books about it. I wrote a whole book called Financial Lovemaking. And in my
Hmm.
research, I found that women are naturally wired to financial security. If there's financial insecurity, it can
Hmm.
trigger her into tremendous amounts of anxiety.
Yeah, well, it's not just financial security women want. They also want emotional security. They also want to feel safe in relationships. They want to feel safe and secure.
Hmm.
Not that, so it's more than just financial. I mean, people
Well,
need that sort of
Well, it
security.
does come back to security, right?
Hmm.
And some women want different types based on, I imagine, based on how they grew up, right? Some women want, they lean toward financial security. Some lean
Hmm.
toward physical security. Some lean toward emotional security,
Okay,
right?
so
Like if you're a little girl who grew up with a rich daddy and you never had a money problem, then
hmm
financial security may not be important to you. You may
well, it
think
might be important. Now, actually, I mean, I think it might be actually
it
important
could
because
be,
that's what was shown to you as important.
or maybe it
You know?
wasn't. Maybe you just had it and didn't even, like our kids have been financially secure their whole life and they don't even know it. They don't even think about it.
No, they
They
don't.
they don't even have to process money, right? Because
Hmm.
we've got enough of it. So I can't imagine them saying, "Ooh, he got money, girl. I want to be with him." Right. Whereas if you have a little girl who grew up eating bologna sandwiches in the projects with the light skin cut off and rats and roaches in the house, she might value the emotional security, but not as much as the financial security.
Well, I think that because the kids here are so accustomed to a certain lifestyle, they're not going to live a different lifestyle that's lower than than what they're accustomed to. So I don't know if they'll know. Like they're gonna be with somebody that came from similar socioeconomic background
You
than
make
when
the
they came from. They're not going. They're going to see a value. But more importantly, is I want to say something about emotional security. I think that some people, they may say that they minimize that emotional security, but I think just being human beings, just being a human being, you want that emotional connection with another person.
hmm
It's built in our DNA.
yeah.
That emotional connection, we are all born. I mean, you know about that study
hmm
about you're more likely to, a child is more likely to want to be cuddled than to want to eat.
hmm
And so that having that emotional, that comfort, that one person that you could turn to that can hold you when you need them is above and beyond anything materialistic,
hmm
and anything, even anything that's sustaining life, like food. That's
Yeah.
much more important than food.
Yeah.
Being loved is more important than anything in the world, and I'm almost certain that's what these two couples right here, that's what they needed.
Yeah, well, I imagine that. I'm not saying
Hmm.
that's not the case. And I think it's really a matter of like when you talk about financial security, physical security, emotional security, other types of security, it looks different to different people, right? So you and I could both say we want emotional security, but I think it can mean different things.
Yeah, well, that's our job, being together. I have to figure out what you need so that you can
hmm
feel secure with me, and
hmm
you have got to figure out what I need from you so that I can feel emotionally and secure and safe in our relationship.
hmm
That's the whole point of it all.
That's true. That's true. Well,
Hmm.
Clem James, we gotta go. We're late
We
for
do
the
have
game.
to
We gotta
go.
run to the airport.
Okay.
But okay. So anyway, you guys are watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. And in case you're wondering why we took this conversation all the way to Mars, it's because we didn't want to sit around and talk about an NBA player and his baby mama forever. That was kind of the launching pad of a broader conversation about family and and children and sex and choices and outcomes, right? So my conclusion, I'll let Alicia give her conclusion on it. My conclusion is basic. Belle Biv DeVoe had that old song where they said, "Never trust a big button to smile." And it doesn't mean a big button to smile are not wonderful things. It just means that you can't sort of just follow the physical. For guys, don't go put your penis in any toxic waste dump that happens to walk by, or anybody who offers you sex. I mean, a person can ruin your life. Sex has ruined the lives of many men. So when you are a man that has means and you have a little power, sexual discipline is an absolute must. If you can't be disciplined, if anybody knows, and Brittany Renner smart when she said this, she was being honest with you. She said, look, the fact that you're the athletes, not all of them, because I know a lot of smart athletes, but the fact that some athletes are driven solely by sex and make bad choices gives you an opportunity to take their money. And there is an old saying that says, a fool and his money will soon part ways. So a person who is not intelligent, strategic, and observant, who has access to resources, you're going to eventually lose all that money. Everything you have, you're going to lose it because somebody's going to come along, offer you something in the candy shop, and you're going to go and give yourself diabetes. So that's my 2 cents. That would be my advice for PJ, or any guy like PJ is, protect your seed, man. Like, now you got a baby with a lady that you don't want to have a baby with, and you can't just sort of operate that way. And I think if Brittany were my daughter, I'd probably kind of ask her politely, like, hey, babe, can you get off the internet? And like, what you have is valuable and precious. And like Muhammad Ali told his daughter, he said, anything that's valuable, you have to dig for it. Gold, you got to go under the ground to get it. Diamonds, you got to dig to get the diamonds. If something's easy to get and easy in easy supply, then people aren't going to value it as much, right? So if you're showing all your good stuff to the whole world, and you're leading with sex every single time you pull out an image, it's going to get you a lot of attention, but it might get you the wrong attention. and put you in some tough situations, you know. So I would probably say to her, you know, be beautiful and don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed of your body. Don't be ashamed of who you are. But you're smart too, right? Brittany Renner is, you know, she might be sneaky, but she seems smart. Show them how smart you are, and then let them earn their way to all the other good stuff that's in the back. Let that be dessert, and you know, the dessert should not be the main course. And that's what's happening now is people don't value sex and love anymore, I believe, because we're making the dessert the main course. If you lead dinner with chocolate cake, ain't nobody gonna want to eat no vegetables. So what's your final thought, babe?
Yeah, I'm just responding to what you were saying. It's really interesting that you think that she's smart. What is it that she
I,
what is it that she has done that makes you think she's smart? We don't know, and that's the sad part about it. We don't know how intelligent she actually is.
I think she's strategic. I think that
Well,
she
strategic doesn't
because
mean smart
well,
though.
remember though,
She's like
well
cunning.
she's been well whatever you want to call it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
she's been able to get on the internet and make millions of dollars as an IG model. She's able to get close to the people she wants to get close to. You know, like she's, you know, and now don't get me wrong, I don't agree with
I
it.
don't know if that's smart. If that's smart,
It
or if
doesn't mean
that's just.
she might not be a good person, but I wouldn't. She's not automatically dumb just because she, you know,
I didn't say
she's
she
a
was
hoe.
automatically dumb. I was just saying, like, what makes you think that she is really smart? Like, we don't know how intelligent she is, and I think that's the sad part about it. There's more to her than just her physical body. You know, what is important to a person is also like the words that came out of her mouth. I didn't see much intelligence there, honestly. And so I don't know how smart she is. And you know, sometimes maybe we should know how smart she is. It just, I don't know if she's got brains necessarily.
Well, that's true. I
You
mean,
know,
we don't know if she does
she's
have brains.
cunning, but I'm not certain how smart she is.
Oh, okay. Well, you
You
know,
know, she's gonna outsmart herself, and she's gonna find herself in a and repeating some of these failures. What's going on? She's getting dragged, right, from what she
well,
said.
let me
So
just say that she has 4.6 million Instagram followers.
okay.
And I'm not gonna say that this makes her into an Einstein, right? Clearly, if you're talking about, you know, having lots of unprotected sex, that means you're not thinking through all your choices, right?
Hmm.
But let me just say this: it's hard to get 4.6 million Instagram followers as a regular person and be
Hmm.
stupid. Like she has to be has to have some level of strategy, you know, some
Hmm.
level of business acumen, right? So she's got something. I wouldn't necessarily say that she is, you know, somebody's gonna be teaching at Harvard next year, but I don't know. She could teach at Harvard. Like if you, I mean, she's teaching women how to get money. She can teach you how to get money.
I don't know
Like
how much
seriously, if I
intelligence.
was a person who, let's say you talk about a porn star. I think Brittany, there's a picture of Brittany with a porn star. Let's say you don't have the same morals and ethics as like a lot of people in some of the Asian countries that are Buddhist. They don't believe in sin. They're like, no, sex is just sex. It's something you do. It ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. You know, like stop. You know, so they don't moralize it in the same way.
I'm sorry, Buddhists think that.
Well, not Buddhist. I can't remember if it's Buddhist or yeah, because my friend I met a guy who lived in Bangkok, and he
Hmm.
said the way they view sex is completely different from the way they view it in the United States.
Oh,
He said,
this is your one Bangkok person, and you're
yeah,
gonna make that out to be an
yeah, but
entire group of people.
no. That's but one.
Okay.
No, listen. Here's
Your
what that.
Bangkok
No. He,
conversation.
he was a smart.
Continue.
He's a smart guy. Let me explain. So one thing that he
Hmm.
argued, and maybe he's wrong. Maybe I'm completely off base, but he said that out in the East they don't have, you know, sin. They don't view sin the way we view it in the United States. That's why, for example, in China, they do stem cell research. Like it ain't nothing. They're like, what are you talking about? A baby has a soul. Baby ain't got no damn soul. We're gonna take the stem cells out. We're gonna use them for cloning. We're gonna use them for medication. All that stuff about a soul is nonsense. That's how they view things, right? So my point is, let's
Well,
say you're a person who
okay.
isn't into the ethics of sexuality. You just believe sex, like any other commodity, can be used to achieve a specific objective, just like selling cookies or chicken. Um, if I'm in that category, I would listen to her because she's
Hmm.
successful in her own way. She has 4.6 million Instagram followers. She's made millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But she was able to.
I don't know about success. I mean, I think like every time I see Instagram model commit suicide, it makes me sad. You know, and I've seen many stories. I'm serious. I've seen many stories of people who are on Instagram, different races of individuals who have all of these followings, and they're still empty and they're still sad and they don't see themselves in a positive light, and they just want to end it.
Well, that's true.
I have been collecting stories of people who are on social media incessantly, which bothers me. If you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is grab your phone before you talk to your partner. Like, to me, I think that might be problematic. But it just makes me wonder if you're placing so much of your worth on whether somebody you don't even know if they like you or not.
It could be.
Like, that's a big problem.
It could be, but if it makes you happy, then I'm happy for you.
Well, that's not making people happy. Well, that's the point that I'm saying. It's not. Well, it's all a fantasy.
Well, one thing I can say,
it's like snap out of it.
It might be, but I'm on social media a lot, and I can genuinely say I'm a happy person. Like, I know when I'm not happy. I know when my life is not happy, right? And you can't tell me that I'm not happy. No one can tell me my feelings but me, right? Mm-hmm. So I know that, I'm not saying that social media is a wonderful place for everybody, but it's like somebody saying that you're not happy when you go to school because school is hard and stressful. How can you say I saw you at school and you were complaining about your professor? That means you're not happy. That means you need to drop out of school.
Well, happiness is different. I think like the point is just to be content. It's to be content with your life. So happiness will come and go. Sadness will come and go. It's supposed to happen. Those are real emotions and feelings that people have. But you just have to be content with whatever is around you. But the thing is that it has to come from your inside. You have got to know that it's okay on the inside. And that's when you get addiction, like real addiction, this compulsion. Oh my God, I got to post. I got to see how many likes I got. I got to follow up on that. You spend your entire life looking at that because that's where you get your worth from. Yeah. It's a problem.
Well, I could definitely see that. I mean, I could see everybody having compulsions or things they have emotional reactions to. And,
that needs to go checked.
It does. It does. Right. I think balance. I think the ability, to me, it's all about finding your bliss. But so if the thing you do, like if you love art, and you compulsively must paint in order to cope. Yeah. That's an addiction that I can live with, right? I think we have addictions to people. Like I was really stressed out today. I need to talk to my dad. I
don't know if that's an addiction to a person.
No, I think
it's just using your support system. It's different from
right. Well, then why can't social media be a support system? There are real people on social media. If you go to Facebook and you make a comment and you say, I'm having a really hard day today because somebody told me something to cheer me up, and 100 comments come in saying you can do it, way to go. That's real. That's not, the bots didn't do that. Humans did that. Okay. Human beings did that. It's no different walking in a room and saying, hey, can you guys help me get through this?
Well, the problem is that how is it that you're sad in the first place? Like, what happened? What did you tell yourself? What thoughts were going through your head that had an effect on how you felt? Like, what happened externally in your life that you need to resolve? So instead of clinging to social media to lift you up, who are some real people with some real relationships and real connections to you? Because those people, they don't know you. It's really nice to have those sort of comments, but you need people it's more substantial when it comes from people who are important in your life.
Well, I'm going to say I formed some really good friendships on social media. I will say that I have people where I meet them for the first time and they're like, hey, it's me. I'm blah, blah, blah from social media. I'd be like, oh man, so great to meet you in person. And I think social media is just a different way of knowing people. You don't know them in 3D space, but you know them in a better way sometimes because you know their brain, you know them from the inside out. You don't know them from just looking at who's cute and who's not, who's got swag and who doesn't. Like, you get to know them based on their thoughts, right? And I think
it's a sad existence if that's your only friends.
Well, it's not
your only friends are the people on social media. It's like it's like turning toward the people who really know you, who can see you every day. Who those individuals need to be the ones that you turn to for support.
Well, I don't know. I don't know people who see you every day all automatically.
But they should.
But sometimes the people who see you every day know you the least, right? So I think
that's not how it should be. You should be turning toward the people with substantial relationship to you.
Yeah,
that reciprocity, building and connecting with the people that you physically see, that you have that emotional ties to. It's building on that sort of connection.
I do.
This also is important.
I certainly hear that, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's whatever floats your boat, whatever helps you get through the day, whatever makes you happy. makes me happy. Like that's literally where I am. I'm literally agnostic about that in terms of I don't tell you what should make you happy. I say what does make you happy. And are you hurting other people? If the answer is no, if you're not hurting other people in that serious way, by what you're doing, then then I don't judge you, So that's I think that's and I think that's how I got my happiness is I stopped giving a shit about what the world told me is supposed to make me happy. People told me, well, getting a good job will make you happy. And I was like, I don't want to work for anybody else.
Who told you getting a good job will make you happy? Like you got some misguided
I
advice.
heard that from people. Or I heard
That
people
was
saying I heard
misguided.
people tell me getting married would make me happy when I was younger. And I
No,
was like, no, I don't want to get married. I don't want, or people told me that,
getting
whatever.
married won't make you happy. It's not going to make you happy being married just because you're married.
Right. But what I'm
Hmm.
saying to you overall, though, is I think that whatever works for you works for you, and that's where I think
Yeah,
people should go ahead. I'll let you get the last word.
you bring yourself into every relationship that you have. It's
Hmm.
you that you bring. So whether it's on social media or it's your significant other or it's with your child, you really do have to have that self-worth and that self-love. And it does come from your environment when you're growing up. But even if there were some mistakes along the way, you talked about your mom, maybe your parents and stuff weren't perfect. But along the way, it's finding that self-worth first and then putting that into relationships because that will help you be able to walk away from things that are toxic and it will also help you monitor and be a barometer to find if there's somebody trying to manipulate you. You have to pay attention to how you feel. I talk to people all the time, and when I'm done talking to them, I pay attention to how I feel when that conversation is over, and I rest on that because I have a really good compass inside of myself. At least I feel I do, where I can read people and study people and understand what relationships I want to cultivate and what relationships I want to terminate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll let Dr. Alicia get the last word because if we keep going back and forth, well, we love to out talk each other. So I'm gonna let her get the last word.
I just
So
did.
I'm gonna go ahead and head on out. I gotta go get on this airplane. I'm so late. So you guys have a wonderful day. It was great talking to you. Hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button on your way out. And also, if you want to go to Alicia's website, it's coachingwithdralicia.com. That's her website. She's actually a couples counselor. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then feel free to stop by. Also, you can follow her on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Let's see. Big Bird Smoke says Boyce ain't got no spine. He can't stand up and say no, so he gets stepped on like a doormat. Well, thank you very much. Well, how about I give you the big middle finger because you sound like a dummy. All right. So let's see here. Hey, Blue Marble, you have a wonderful day. Later on to you too. I will talk to you all later. Please have a wonderful day, and I'll check back in with you when I get to Atlanta. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.